team. I am Admiral Abaster Shephard. I am the lead recruiter for FUBHAR and here to give you your mission brief. The following video has been classified as top secret and may not be shared with anyone outside of this room. We received word from Captain Roy G. Biv that he and his entire crew were captured by the little-known group of aliens that identify themselves as intergalactic space pickles during a mission to Sector L68F of the Gamma Quadrant. According to data retrieved from a messenger probe, the ship that they are currently being held on is called the Gherkin, the flagship of the Pickle Fleet. They are being forced to travel around the different sectors of the ship, looking for colored keys to open colored doors in order to retrieve the intergalactic space biscuit from the center of the ship. Apparently, this biscuit is a power source capable of powering pickle ships and devices. Before beginning, each astronaut spins on the color ring. The resulting color that is spun is the color that the astronaut will play during the game. The astronaut receives a pawn, a deck of cards, and a door that matches that character's color. If an astronaut spins bonus, then that astronaut can choose a starting color, except for rainbow, that is not already in use. The only way to acquire the rainbow token is to spin rainbow on the color ring. After all astronauts have a color, each one rolls both D10s. The astronaut that rolls the highest number will be the one who goes first. The first astronaut places her or his door onto one of the door symbols on the board. If there are still unclaimed doors left for games with less than 6 players, then the first astronaut takes one of the doors that are left and places it onto one of the door symbols on the board. This continues until all doors have been placed. Place all character pawns onto their respective starting spaces. The rainbow astronaut places his or her pawn on any unoccupied starting space of choice. The first astronaut rolls both D10s and moves clockwise the number of spaces rolled. The tile that is landed on determines what happens next. If the astronaut lands on a white tile, then the turn ends unless doubles are rolled. If the astronaut lands on a bonus tile, then that astronaut immediately spins on the bonus ring. The turn then ends unless doubles are rolled. If the astronaut lands on a pickle tile, then that astronaut immediately draws a pickle card and follows the directions on the card. The turn then ends regardless of doubles being rolled. If the astronaut lands on a color tile, then one of 3 things must happen. The astronaut draws a character card matching the tile color from her or his personal deck. Watch Getting Keys for more information. The astronaut chooses not to draw a card and instead declares a "Risk it for the biscuit." Watch Risk it for the biscuit section for more information. The astronaut chooses not to draw a card, or risk it, and teleports to the next tile of the same color. Watch Teleporting for more information. After one of these 3 occurs, the turn then ends unless doubles were rolled. In case doubles are rolled, the astronaut completes his or her turn and then immediately takes another turn. If the astronaut rolls doubles again, a 3rd time, then the astronaut completes his or her own turn and then draws a pickle card upon completion of the turn as a penalty. Once the astronaut's turn is ended, play then moves on to the next astronaut on the left. When landing on a colored tile and choosing to draw a character card from the deck, which tile that is landed on is important. When an astronaut lands on a tile that does not match her or his color, then one character card is drawn from that astronaut's deck that matches the tile color. For example, Coral C. Jemison is landing on a red tile and gets one Scarlet Ride character card from her orange deck. When an astronaut lands on a tile that matches his or her color, then 2 character cards are drawn from that astronaut's deck that matches the tile color. For example, Neil Armbarrel is landing on a blue tile and gets 2 Neil Armbarrel character cards from his blue deck. Roy G. Biv is the exception. When he lands on any color tile, he always takes 2 character cards of the color he lands on, as he represents all colors. Once 2 character cards of one color are collected, the next time that astronaut lands on that color, she or he can exchange the 2 character cards for the key of that color. This is done by pulling out the key and replacing the character cards back into the deck. Note that once an astronaut has a color key, he or she can no longer collect character cards of that color until the key is used. Instead of drawing cards, the astronaut can instead choose to risk it for the biscuit. This is done in 3 steps. Verbally declare, "Risk it for the biscuit," or "Risking it," or "Spinning." Spin the dial on the color ring. Observe the results. If the spinner lands on the color that does not match the astronaut's color, then one character card, or one key if two character cards are already in play, is drawn from that astronaut's deck that matches the spun color. Once this is done, that astronaut's turn is now over, unless doubles were rolled. If the key for that color is already in play, the astronaut gets nothing. If the spinner lands on a color that does match the astronaut's color, then two character cards, or one key if one or two character cards already in play, is drawn from that astronaut's deck that matches the spun color. Once this is done, that astronaut's turn is now over unless doubles were rolled. If the key for that color is already in play, the astronaut gets nothing. Roy G. Biv is, of course, the exception to this. Whenever he spins while risking it, he only receives one character card for any color spun, as opposed to the two character cards when he lands on a color space. If the spinner lands on the rainbow space, Roy G. Biv, then the astronaut receives a Roy G. Biv card. If the Roy card is already in play, then the astronaut receives nothing. If the spinner lands on one of the white bonus spaces, then the astronaut immediately spins on the bonus ring. If the astronaut chooses not to draw a character card or risk it, or cannot do either, then she or he teleports to the next tile of the same color within the sector. This can only be done within the same sector, even if you have a key to the current door. If the color ring results in bonus, then the astronaut spins on the bonus ring. Spinning on the bonus ring has one of 5 results. Steal card. The astronaut chooses a character card from her deck while one of the other astronauts has to replace that same card in his deck. Note that if this would give that astronaut a third character card, then the stealing player receives a key instead after trading in the 2 character cards. If no other astronaut has a character card, nothing happens. Steal key. The astronaut chooses a key from his deck while one of the other astronauts has to replace that same card in her deck. If no other astronaut has a key card, nothing happens. This is one of the only 2 ways of obtaining a rainbow key card. Get key. The astronaut chooses any color key except for rainbow. She then replaces any character cards of that color back into her deck and obtains that chosen key. Rainbow key. The astronaut receives a rainbow key. This key can be used to open any door before being replaced in the deck. This is the second of only 2 ways of obtaining a rainbow key card. Switch locks. The astronaut chooses 2 doors and then swaps their position within the ship. Once the results of a bonus spin have been enacted, it is the next astronaut's turn unless doubles were rolled. The first astronaut to get to the intergalactic space biscuit and pass through its tile retrieves the card from her or his deck and is the winner.